All right, 1 o'clock. Let's we can get started if y'all are all ready. This won't it won't take a lot of time for us to go through this, but there are a couple things that we want to talk about as a result of Hurricane Michael. As everyone knows, it's a Category 4, probably scheduled to make landfall within the next hour or so down in the panhandles of Florida. But the impacts we're going to see not only through Georgia, but also through South Carolina into North Carolina. The impacts on us here in Beaufort County are, of course, the ones that we're concerned about, and it's the reason we're here now. We're looking for probably a 12-hour event here in Beaufort County. The best case scenario for us is probably sometime tonight, early morning, 3 or 4 in the morning, through probably 3 or 4 tomorrow afternoon. Is probably going to be the worst time for us. We'll be looking at winds sustained between 20 and 30 mile an hour, gust 35 to 45, and those will mainly be in the rain bands that we'll see travel through the county during this time. Our fears, of course, that would be that could create some flooding issues. I'll let Neil talk about that in a few minutes. But this is the latest information that we got from the Weather Channel in our 11:30 call. Rain, it doesn't appear that rain's going to be a big enemy for us during this event. Anywhere from 2 to 5 inches, the majority of that rain coming in the bands where we experience most of the wind. Our fears and what we expect as a result of the wind and what rain we will get during that 12-hour time frame is tree damage, down power lines, standing water, and the dangerous conditions, of course, will be mainly in those bands as they pass over the county. We're asking everyone, I'm sure there are people that need to travel about the county tomorrow, but we're asking everyone to refrain from doing any of that, especially between about 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. Tomorrow. Please stay out from under trees. With this rain and with still some trees that were compromised in Hurricane Matthew, we still got a lot of dead limbs and trees that could be impacted and affected by the sustained winds and gust. And we've had a little bit of rain here in the past 24 hours that also would contribute to some compromised root systems. So if you can stay home, we would like for you to stay home during this 12-hour window. Please, if you do travel and it's something that's a must, try to stay out of low-lying areas of your travel and be extremely careful on our bridges, because wind gusts 35 to 45 miles an hour is going to surprise you. It's not going, sustained winds you can kind of overcome based on driving conditions, but it's really, really hard to project what a wind gust may do or how it would impact you, especially if you're on one of our bridges throughout the county. As a result of what we believe will be our challenges tomorrow, starting tonight, the schools within Beaufort County have closed. The public schools in Beaufort County are closed for Thursday. Hopefully everything will go back to normal business on Friday. Beaufort County government is closed on Thursday. The town of Bluffton is closed on Thursday. The town of Port Royal, the city of Beaufort, town of Hilton Head, and the University of South Carolina. Hopefully everything will pass through tomorrow with minimal damage, and we'll be able to reopen everything on Friday. I've got Paul Somerville, Chairman of County Councils, here to make some comments, and then we've got a few other folks in the room as well. Mr. Somerville, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sheriff Tanner. We have not declared a state of emergency in the county. Don't intend to unless Michael shifts to the southeast, and in that case we will. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen right now. The county, I think the sheriff mentioned, the county office buildings are going to be all closed tomorrow. And I encourage everybody, as the sheriff did, to stay off the roads if possible tomorrow during that 12-hour window, particularly on elevated roads and bridges. The sheriff mentioned that as well, because those wind gusts could be pretty dangerous. There's also a tornado threat. Of course, you'll get notified if one's in our area, but keep in mind tornadoes are certainly possible tomorrow. Probably going to have some down power lines and down trees. I think the sheriff mentioned to watch out for trees. Don't spend time under any trees. I think that's it. Ask everybody to be really careful tomorrow, and Godspeed.
Town of Hilton Head, Steve Riley.
Our heart aches for what this storm is going to do to Florida, to Georgia, to parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, all of whom are going to get greater impacts than we're expecting here. But we are expecting impacts. Every storm has the potential to shift. Every storm has the potential to impact us, as has been said now a couple times by the sheriff and Mr. Somerville. It's not a good day to be on the roads tomorrow, and that's why we support the move to close Town Hall. We need to set that example, and we're doing that. We all hope to be back in normal operations on Friday, and hope that this spares us. We'll also be prepared, as we have been already with Florence, to offer our assistance to those who are damaged more greatly than us.
Mayor Kaiserling, anything that you want to add to? And Mayor Murray, we'll go to you next if you.
Thank you, Sheriff. As you said, the city of Beaufort will be closed tomorrow. The issue is really people, transportation, wind. But we, unfortunately, have learned where we have flooding spots, and we are now staging because people know where you could be wet, and we're staging equipment to be able to close roads where we need to. So as everyone has said, the best thing you can do is stay home, stay high, and stay dry. Hoping it is what it is and it doesn't get worse. But we do know that we have areas in the city that will flood, and most of you who are out there know where it is, unfortunately, because you've suffered it before. But we're out there, again, cleaning storm drains, and we'll be staging should we have to close any streets. Thank you.
Mary Murray, Port Royal. Anyone here from Bluffton? I think they wanted us to just acknowledge during this press conference that the town of Bluffton will be closed on Thursday. Back open on Friday, hopefully. Mayor?
Thank you, Chair. Just like to let you know the town of Port Royal will concur with the county and the sheriff department. We will be closed tomorrow. We do have a council meeting this evening at 6:30. We're going to try to get through that. We get out of the way. We'd like for everyone to stay in tomorrow if they don't have to. Look out for your neighbors, check on your pets, and take the day off tomorrow. Just stay in. Let's get through this, and God bless those who are in harm's way in Florida and Georgia, and hope that we will be back to normal on Friday. Thank you.
Colonel Baxley. Touch on the tornadoes and the flooding and some of the other things.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Beaufort County is currently under a tropical storm warning as issued by the National Hurricane Center out of Miami. We're also under small craft warnings and rip current warnings. And we'll touch on that first. Within the past hour, Hilton Head Shore Services the lifeguards have rescued a 15-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 9-year-old who were on boogie boards and playing out in the surf and were being pulled out to sea. And the lifeguards were able to effect a rescue and get them back safely on shore. There's a reason for the warnings. They're put out there to warn people that this is a bad situation. These youngsters chose to go out and play, and it fortunately has ended well, but it could have ended much differently. We have been in constant contact with National Weather Service Forecasting Office in Charleston as the storm has developed past few days. They're currently forecasting 2 to 4 inches of rain on top of what we have already received over the last 24 hours. And so, as the sheriff said, we've got weakened tree root systems. We've still got a lot of hangers and leaners from Matthew that have not come down. And this type of event will bring more of them down, which will result in blocked roads, result in power outages, this sort of thing that we just need to be prepared for. We've been very fortunate over the last 3 storms that they've all skirted us and we've not experienced the direct landfalling, and we're not going to experience direct landfall here, but we are going to have impacts. So we have to prepare for them. The flood gauge at Fort Pulaski we've been in the king tides for the last three tide cycles, and we're now looking at a 9.5 for the next high tide, or the Mars high tide, which will be at 11:34 a.m. at the Beaufort River. 9.5 floods the known areas. It puts water in the park. It puts water in the point, some other areas that tops the causeway at Warsaw Island. The National Weather Service is also forecasting a possibility of 1 to 2 foot of storm surge. Now, that's not enough to trigger a storm surge warning, but what it is enough to, on top of 9.5, to give us some aggravation. So the city of Beaufort is taking some precautionary steps to pre-deploy equipment and get ready for that. Again, in the known areas we had to close a road briefly on 278, a part of 278 last night on Hilton Head due to one of these tropical downpours that caused some brief flash flooding. So we're encouraging everyone, as this event develops tonight and through tomorrow, stay home. We will have periodic road closings because of the water. Not necessarily that we're going to be out there barricading, but the nature will close them. The rumor always starts, the time a storm is named, there's a rumor, when are you closing the bridges? We don't close the bridges. The DOT makes decisions on that, and the DOT will be closing the moving bridges. That is the Beaufort River at the Woods Bridge and the Harbor River Bridge to marine traffic only. Road traffic will still be able to cross them, but they're going to close those at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And what they do is they come out with a large chain and they chain the bridge so that it won't swing freely. Those of you who remember Hugo in 1989, the Ben Sawyer Bridge, where it was spun on its pylon and tipped off into the water, that's the lesson learned from that. So they chain these bridges down so that will not happen. They will be open to road traffic. Now, the Talmadge Bridge coming out of Savannah is going to be barricaded on the Georgia side tonight at 9 p.m. Well, on both sides because both are in Georgia, actually. But it will be closed to traffic at 9 p.m. tonight. It's an elevated bridge. I believe it's 85 feet above the water, and that puts you up into higher winds. And so they'll be closing it at 9 o'clock, and it will remain closed until the end of the event. We have no intention at this time of doing that to our high bridges, but that could become a situation where we have to do it at a moment's notice. The tornado threat, it is now elevated by the National Weather Service into a moderate threat, which is a considerable level. These tornadoes will be EF0s and EF1s. I'm not going to get into the technical side of that, but the National Weather Service warns us that in these scenarios, they can happen very fast, and they will try to be warning them, putting out tornado warnings, but it is not guaranteed because they will form so fast and then dissipate so fast. So an EF0 or an EF1 lasting 10 minutes might not make it into a warning cycle, but it could still do some considerable damage. I would remind everyone that in 1998, we had a very similar tracking storm. It was not a Category 4 at landfall, but it was a similar tracking storm, and it spawned a number of tornadoes in Beaufort County, one of which killed a resident on St. Helena Island. So this is the scenario that concerns us the most, is the tornadoes and the wind tomorrow. The sheriff touched on all the closings for tomorrow. The municipalities, the university, all are closed. The county's closed. So again, we're encouraging everyone to stay home tomorrow, stay off the bridges. The worst winds will be during the rain bands. And then we might have a period of absolute calm in between them. And think about it, now this is not a good chance, let's just sit tight, let the next one come through, let the storm pass through, and it should be out of here tomorrow night, and all will be well. That's it, sir.
Questions? Don't go too far. All right, well, thank y'all. Questions? Does anyone have anything? Anything that we didn't cover?
Could you repeat the ages of the people saved on Talmadge this morning?
I beg your pardon?
Could you repeat the ages of the people saved on Talmadge?
15, 9, and 9.
And what time was that?
About 45 minutes ago.
You'll be sending out Nixle alerts throughout the area in Bluffton, Hilton Head, etc.
We will, and I'm glad you brought that up. Those that are part of our Nixle family, we also have our neighbors to the west that also utilize Nixle. That would be Jasper County and the town of Hardyville. And those that are in certain zip codes have been getting flooded with Nixles, not only from us, but also from Hardyville and Jasper County, and they're all basically duplications of each other. So I know that last night I got 17 Nixles on my iPhone, to include 22 emails that basically repeated the same thing that the Nixle told us. We're trying to get our arms around that as we speak. Captain Bromage is working with Nixle as well as Jasper County and the town of Hardyville, trying to figure out how we can corral a lot of this information, because you know what our fear is, that people will just get inundated to a point to where they'll just say, you know what, enough's enough, and we don't want that to happen. So we're trying to do that. We will continue to send out information through Nixle and all the other social media platforms that we have as we progress through this event throughout the night and tomorrow.
Neil, you talked about it. What's our biggest threat? Is it tornadoes? Is it that storm surge combining with the rain? Where does this stand for lunch?
I think the biggest threat tonight and tomorrow is tornadoes. The storm surge, again, 1 to 2 foot doesn't even trigger the warning criteria for the National Weather Service. So, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the southwest facing exposures are the ones that are at most risk tomorrow, because that's the direction the winds will be blowing from, or tonight rather. And that would be places like Land's End, St. Helena, Cat Island, and not that they're going to get inundated. I'm not telling you, but those are the ones that are most likely to have any damage at all from any storm surge. The north-facing exposures that got beat up in Matthew, they're probably not going to see any issue because they're going to be protected from the wind. The tornado threat is the greatest single threat over the next 24, 36 hours, because if simply the tornado can do the most damage. 25 to 35 mile an hour winds. All of our houses should be able to withstand that. They're built to code. They're good and solid. Put the trees down. If a tree hits a house, then you'll have damage to the house as a result of it. But the tornado threat is the one that concerns the Weather Service and concerns emergency management the most.
What year was it that you mentioned that somebody could?
Yes, sir. 1998.
1998.
Yes, sir. Summer '98.
What Wednesday, when the system is when you close bridges?
We make those decisions on a case-by-case scenario. There's no set criteria for doing it. Chatham County's made their decision because of the elevation of the bridge. We don't have a bridge in Beaufort County that's 85 feet off the water. And they're also, that's another thing, they are predicting the open waters immediately offshore to have gusts of 60 to 70 mile per hour. So that's near hurricane strength, because there's nothing to impede the winds out there. So when you stick a bridge 85 feet up in the air, there's nothing to impede the winds up there either. They can be considerably higher than they would be at ground level.
What is the tallest ridge in the design?
That would be probably the McTier on the new side, and I believe it is 65 or 68 feet above water.
For folks who need help out there, when does it stop, or when do you stop at that?
At this time, we don't anticipate stopping response. Now nature may stop us. There may be a tree blocked across the road, but we're at this time not anticipating pulling our troops to shelter in this scenario. We will be using our high water vehicles that we got through the 1033 program, and each of the municipalities has gained some of those vehicles also. They'll be out there. We don't anticipate stopping the response.
And let me add to that, because I've watched a lot of news cast over the past couple of days, and I hate to hear when someone says that, you know, if you don't evacuate and you don't leave, when the storm hits, we're not coming to help you. And that's not how it works. We may need to retreat momentarily based on the fact that we just cannot navigate in the storm to do anyone any good, and to put and of course putting the officers in harm's way. But the reality to it is, if you don't evacuate, and keep in mind we are not evacuating anyone within Beaufort County, but if you need us, we're going to come to you. As Neil said, in normal circumstances, it takes 5 or 6 minutes, and whatever challenges the storm gives us, it could take us several hours. But we are coming, and we are going to do our very best to get to you and help you at any point. It's just sometimes we may have to go around obstacles to get there, but we will get there. Anything else?
What's the best way for people to get any kind of updates about if tornadoes coming up?
Neil, you want to answer that one?
There's any number of apps that the phone service that you can get on your phones for weather alerts from the National Weather Service in Charleston. But again, they are concerned that these tornadoes may form so quickly that they will not be able to warn them. This is not like the Midwest where all the elements are coming into play and they can put out a warning based on this. A tornado in this scenario may form, make landfall, and dissipate in less than 10 minutes. And if you're in the location where it makes landfall, things can get real serious. So the best issue is, as the storm is progressing, we've encouraged everyone to stay home. Know where your safe room is in your house. If the conditions begin to feel like it's a tornado, get to your safe room and ride it out.
Are there sirens in the county?
There are 2 sirens located, one on Paris Island, one on the air station. They use them for weather alerts. We have recently received a grant, and we are implementing a warning siren system, but they have not been deployed yet. We're having to go through the development, the purchasing process, and then the installation and construction. They'll be ready for next season, but they're not ready now.
Now, are there any plans to have any backup shelters or anything like that on standby?
At this time, we are not planning to activate any shelters in Beaufort County. We're not seeing a need to. Some of our neighbors in the further western counties are already opening shelters. I know there's a shelter already open in Aiken County for its residents. The central track of the storm is through the center part of the state, and we're to the right of the storm track, which is where it puts us in the tornado threat so greatly. So the center part of the state is expecting more impact than we are, and they're already activating shelters, but none in Beaufort County.
Well, let me thank you all for coming. I don't know that we'll do this tomorrow. We'll just have to play it by ear. If we feel that we need to, at some time tomorrow morning, we'll make that call, and we'll send, Captain Bromwich will send stuff out and let you know what time. Thanks for coming, and I appreciate it.